Hey friends, I'm going to show you how to use AspectAvy. This is what I use as a mountain guide to deliver the goods to my clients and come home safely to my daughter. And we designed it to be super simple so that everyone can use it for safe access to the backcountry and a long and adventurous life. Let's dive in. So I'm looking at Western US and all the polygons are the forecast zones for the avalanche forecast zones. I'm going to zoom in and you can see the different colors there. Red, that's where I am. That means considerable danger. So let's click on the screen and it gives me the synopsis, everything I need to know about the avalanche forecast. So instead of getting bogged down with 10 pages of storytelling, this gives me my clear travel advice. So I'm looking at considerable. Human triggered avalanches are likely. Stay out of avalanche terrain and stay out of the run out zones. And then we go down and it gives us our 2 avalanche problems that the forecast has today. And that's the old snow problem, also known as persistent slab, and wind slab. And 95% of the deaths happen in the critical blacked out danger zones. So you want to avoid those if you can. If you can't, because that's the only place with good snow, stay out of the red and the algorithm has you covered for low risk tours. So let's X out of that. And then let's type the search function. Let's go to Vail Pass tomorrow. And that zooms us in and it pulls up the forecast for there. And so it says scary moderate, warning, unpredictable old snow problem, remote triggering from flat runouts as possible, stay out of the runouts, ski slopes that are 32 degrees or less. And if you want the full forecast website, you can click on that too. But we've told you your actionable advice. Follow these guidelines and it's a really low risk tour for the day. And it also gives you a definition of scary moderate. Means, hey, there's an old snow problem. This is when it's heightened risk for destructive avalanches. And they're really difficult to predict and hard to know even for the experts. Underneath that, we've got the persistent slab problem listed, the old snow, and the wind slab problem. Now let's X out of that. And now we're going to zoom out slightly. And everything on red here, if I go to the upper part of the screen, says, hey, that's no go. Red is anything over 32 degrees. And then it says use caution 28 to 32 degrees. And what we want you to do there is to click on the tools and use the slope angle meter to verify the laser mapping. The laser mapping is really precise, but you still need to verify it and get better with your slope angle tools. So let's zoom in and we can see Uneva Peak. And we're like, okay, there's a lot of red slopes. Those are no-go zones. So that risk in red is similar to base jumping risk. I don't really want to take that kind of risk. But if you keep it in the clear, in the white, there's plenty of slopes we can go ride safely in the white. And that's more like car driving risk. I'm willing to accept that risk. Now, we've also got a bunch of other tools in here. We can go to the upper right-hand corner and click on this button. And we're going to verify the forecast. And this is super important because the forecast is for a large generalized zone, but not necessarily right under my feet. And keep in mind that it's just like the weather forecast. It's not going to be perfect. So we need to rigorously test this. And we do this as guides. We take a really skeptical take on the hypothesis of the forecast. It's a mental model. It's not reality. So here's 6 really simple questions to help you verify it. Did you have any recent avalanche activity, shooting cracks, whoops, that's when the snowpack goes woof, or rapid loading from wind or new snow, or rapid warming and it's getting hot and wet snow? Let's say we had rapid loading and we had shooting cracks and a whoomph, and we hit done. It's going to update the avalanche forecast for our real-time conditions. No mapping app can do that. This is only an avalanche risk management tool that we have. So now we can zoom in and the forecast has been updated and says no-go slopes over 29 degrees. So everything 30 degrees and up has been updated to be, hey, these are high risk because we saw obvious signs of instability that every single avalanche course will teach you and says, hey, if you see these, get out of avalanche terrain because it's really dangerous. And human triggered avalanches are likely. The snowpack is barking at you. Nature's showing red flags. Get out of avalanche terrain. So then we can also use our track, and that'll make a green track on our map. And then we can save it. You can look at it on the web app for later. And then we can use our offline maps. So we click on this, create new map. I'm going to call it Vale Pass. And now what we're going to do is everything in the window gets downloaded. And this happens really quickly, and we need to do this before we leave the house so we have our maps in the field if we don't have reception. So now that we're offline, we're loaded up with today's travel advice for today's avalanche danger and problem type, even in airplane mode. If I'm on a hut trip, I'll want to refresh it each day. Now, when I zoom in, even in airplane mode, this is set up for today's conditions with DSAS. That's dynamic slope angle shading. It's totally different than any other mapping app that's for hunters and mountain bikers. Those maps are the same in June as they are in January. 10 colors, and they never change. Ours shows you exactly what the risk is for today's avalanche conditions, and it works in offline mode. And remember, I can update the forecast and override. I'm going to go out of this zone here where it's scary moderate. And if I verify the forecast in airplane mode, it'll still load up. So if I'm seeing shooting cracks, whoops, and rapid loading, boom, it shifts over to considerable because I've updated for the real-time live conditions. This is dynamic slope angle shading, and it works in airplane mode. All right, now let's dive into tools at the bottom. So we've got our trailhead checklist. Here's the thing. We only have a certain amount of brain power for decisions every day. So if you can help offload and be supported by a coach in your phone, on your app, that really helps. Hit done. And then when we're at the top of our line, before we drop in, it's our pre-flight checklist. This is the drop-in checklist. This is like having me on your shoulder as your avalanche instructor. So, is this a survivable run out? No cliffs, gullies, boulders, or trees to crash into. Do we have a low-risk regroup zone that we've identified that's out of the avalanche run out and really unlikely to get hit at the group if we're wrong in the slope avalanches? Do we have our airbag trigger out and we practice going for it? Do we do a radio check, make sure we've got comms in the group? Are we riding one at a time? We only want to expose one person to lessen the impact on the slope. And that way, if the worst happens and someone gets avalanched, we've got the whole group to rescue that one victim. And then the last part, phones in airplane mode and 20 inches from our beacon so that we don't get electronic interference. That is super important. Okay, that's all the features of the app. And here's what's coming. We're still building the route planning features, and that's coming real soon. And if you want to make that happen faster, so we have satellite imagery and you can seamlessly export routes from your laptop back to your phone and share within your whole team, you can join us on this mission of saving lives and invest in AspectAvy on wefunder.com/AspectAvy. All right, that wraps it up. Hope this was helpful and appreciate your support. We'll see you in the backcountry.